We're ready for our next speaker. We're going to continue in big style. Our guest comes from New York City. He's a computer programmer turned journalist. He's an East Coast editor of Techcrunch, and he's really passionate about watches and about sci-fi. He's the only guy in the world I know that has a business card printed on a 3D printer. So it's his bust. It's unbelievable, guys. He's going to speak about how to escape the black hole. So if there's any Dr. Sheldon Cooper in the audience, okay, we're still alive, thank God. So he's going to be speaking about how to escape the black hole. So if Dr. Sheldon Cooper is in the audience, he may sit down and take some notes. Everyone, big round of applause for John Biggs. Okay, and now, like in the old Converse ad with John Starks, has anyone seen John? Okay, so he's probably having a hangover from the flight last night. So, yeah, he's in the black hole probably, trying to escape the event horizon. I could sing something, but although I'm not a really good singer, maybe I could entertain you with some boring slides from strategy or organizational change or leadership or something. Or we can always invite Masha to do a little dance for us on the stage. Come on, the audience loves you.
Actually, yeah, they wouldn't love me if they saw me dancing. They would run away screaming, and I have too many friends here for that. Actually, what we're going to do is invite...
Here's the man of the hour.
Never mind.
We love you, John.
You missed out on me performing Lady Gaga, so...
Oh, really?
Yeah, take it away.
Yeah, I just used to everything, so...
Oh, perfect.
You can start with your presentation.
So good. All right, so this is my... Oh, shoot. All right, so let's go to the next... Let's get off the screen. Hold on a second. Let's get... There we go, perfect.
Sorry, thank you.
Can you actually read that? Is that actually funny? Yeah, it's not mine either. Escaping the black hole. So sorry, I was out there working. They didn't tell me that I was supposed to be in here doing this. So next time I'll do this instead of that. Who am I? I'm the East Coast editor of Techcrunch. Did you throw my head out?
Yeah. I didn't throw it out, I just showed it.
You showed my head?
Yeah. So I can cut it off and throw it if you want.
I'm one of the few people in this world who actually has my head in my pocket right here. So I have little heads for everybody. So there's going to be a few more. I'm just going to throw these out. So this is my business card. This is what I use to pass out. You want a head? That guy's got. No, you just threw it. Throw one over here. This Teutonic gentleman, and all the way back there. Bounced. Oh, look at that! It's like a baseball game. This is all my information. Who am I? East Coast editor of Techcrunch. I came here from Brooklyn yesterday. I'm exhausted. This is all my contact stuff. This right here, I literally can't see this from up here. That's like a little form that I have, and if you put stuff into that form, I may or may not see it. I probably won't. So this is the first black hole that you're supposed to escape from. I'm exhausted, as I said before. I'm jaded. I've seen everything. I'm really annoyed by everything. I'm charming in most cases. And I'm also here to help the little guy. One of the things that I tell all my Techcrunch writers is that our goal as journalists, and we do use that term, we are journalists. We're not just a bunch of yahoos out there trying to make a lot of money by writing about startups, because we don't make a lot of money. We're trying to afflict the comfortable and comfort the afflicted. And that's something that they've said about journalism for years. And in our case, it's kind of hard because a lot of the people that we write about are comfortable. But what my goal is, primarily, is to write about small things. So, we're trying to escape the black hole. And escaping the black hole doesn't mean, did I screw this up? Escaping the black hole doesn't mean, oh, that's nice. Escaping the black hole doesn't mean that you are supposed to, that this is a black hole, or that we are in any way in any sort of black hole. But what I think a lot of startup founders end up in is they see a lot of other people do things, become really successful. They get these huge raises, 2 million, 40 million, whatever Path got for whatever product theirs is. It's like 670 million. I wouldn't pay that for Path is garbage. And they wonder why this isn't happening to them. And in many cases, it doesn't have to happen to them. And that's why I'm trying to talk about here. So you have three types of founders that I've seen in my travels. You have the hardcore, you have the strivers, and then you have everybody else. So this is the hardcore striver. This is, as you know, the honey badger. The honey badger can eat snakes. The honey badger can be bitten by a snake and will not die. And they seem to be very, very dangerous, but they're not. They're actually kind of cuddly unless they bite your face off. And that's what they are. These are the hardcore founders. So they will kill and eat you. And by hardcore, I mean the guys who seem to be making all the big moves in the valley and seem to be making all the big moves out here as well. They have a lot of friends in the valley, so they go to the valley and they meet a lot of people and go on helicopter rides with them, and that's basically what they do. They work smarter, not harder. 99% of the founders that I've met probably haven't programmed a line in their life. And what they do is they basically hire a bunch of really good people. They steal them from Google and Apple and do their startups, and then they fire those really expensive guys and they hire a bunch of really cheap guys. Lots of their ideas are ridiculous. Going back to Path, that was a ridiculous idea, and now he's trying to save it by adding stickers to the app. I actually met the founder, I think it's Dave Marin, in one of our reviews. Like we do like this reviews show, Fly or Die. I met him when it first launched, and I told him it was a stupid idea, and he didn't agree with me, and now he's still doing it. Color was another stupid one, and they get lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of funding, and we write about them pretty regularly on Techcrunch, and it seems like we're giving them extra ink. That's because they're the loudest guys in the room. Nobody else reaches out to us. Come on, boy. There we go. These are the strivers. Now, this picture is from a TV show in the States. It's called like Silicon Alley Douchebags or something like that. It was a really, really horrible show. It was a reality show. And these people were all supposed to be in some kind of like, they were all supposed to be founders of startups, and they were going to run around. They went to Y Combinator, and they pretended to have relationships with other human beings, and they were just really, really strange. And I don't understand why they did it. One of these people oh, God damn it. This isn't my remote. What did I do?
And you're supposed to be the hardware guy, right?
I am the hardware guy.
Yeah, he told me he's really passionate about hardware. He trashes things up on stage.
Except for this piece of garbage. Yeah. All right, so these people. So one of these founders, I'm not going to say which one, she was supposed to be like the bright shining star of this group. And the last thing I saw her do was that she starts showing up at startup events wearing weird clothes. Like one time I saw her come in looks like she wears a sheet. I thought she was some homeless person who walked in after having slept on the street, and she was wearing like a sheet, like a toga kind of thing. So that's what she does. She doesn't do startups anymore. She does fashion modeling, I guess you could say. So these guys won't stop networking. They won't stop giving you their ridiculous business cards like mine. They're convinced of their success. They're absolutely sure that they're going to be successful. They don't pay their developers. So next time somebody emails you and says, hey, can you write a lot of Perl code for me for my startup, and I'm going to pay you in equity, that's not going to work. In fact, they don't pay anyone except themselves. And their ideas are permutation of something. Usually the idea is like a permutation of it's Amazon for I don't know, fishermen, or social networks for goat lovers. And that's the kind of stuff that you see out of this stuff. And that network would be amazing. I'd actually enjoy that network, but that's not something that we can talk about right now. Then there's everybody else. And by everybody else, I'm talking about you guys. Unless you're some of the other two, then congratulations. So these are solid ideas that fill a need. And these don't have to be original ideas. They can be copycats. And one of the tricks with copycats is that a lot of places need copycats. There is no Yelp for Trinidad and Tobago, for example. So when you land in Trinidad, you don't know which good restaurants to go to. So I met some guys in Trinidad who are actually building out sort of a Yelp for their own country. And that's amazing stuff, and that's very, very important, and that has to happen. Do we need another Facebook for Trinidad and Tobago? No, because Facebook already works over there. But what we do need is another Yellow Pages, so people can look up, I don't know, car repair shops. For these guys, funding is hard to find, or they don't know where to find it. There are plenty of sharks who are ready to bite, who are ready to attack, essentially, and what? Yeah? Huh? Oh, good. I'm good. I think so. Yeah, I think so. I've figured it out now. And with enough perseverance, they can pull it off. And I've seen it happen again and again and again. Again, I like to help the little guy. We like to write about the small companies. If you see something on Techcrunch and it looks weird, it looks like somebody paid us to write it. It's not the case. It's just some dude who emailed us and said, "Hey, can you write about our cool thing that we're doing here in Scranton, Pennsylvania?" And we'll do it. Quick word about incubators and contests and all this other good stuff. These are sort of a distraction, and if you really think about what incubators are, they're designed to kill chickens. So this is sort of a machine that makes chickens into a very fine pink slurry. So what happens is these chickens come down this thing here. I can't even see this. Oh, cool. The chickens come down this conveyor belt, and there's a chicken over here in the corner who's actually jumping out. He's escaping. But then they fall into a machine that makes them into a paste. So it's my ultimate recommendation that if you have the wherewithal and the cash and the time to pull this thing off yourself, do it yourself. If you need an incubator, or if you need certain accelerator, the access that an accelerator will give you, go for it, but just watch out, because ultimately you're going to be like a pink slurry, like these chickens. We can talk about that later offline, because it's an important thing to think about. However, there is hope. You don't have to be a pink slime, ultimately. I have a super secret 3-step plan, which actually turns out to be a 4-step plan, but that's a bonus step that I'm going to give you guys for a small price. This is the stuff I see. So I see stuff, this is the stuff I see. I see poorly written pitches. I see emails that come in at 4 in the morning that says, "Hi, I have great product, send money now," or check Google Doc, and really poorly written. I see Do Everything Founders. Do Everything Founders, a good example of this is a group of guys from Boston who emailed me and said, "Hey, we have this great new thing. We want to show you the great new thing. Can you agree to an embargo?" Then the next email that came from them was, "Hey, we don't want to send any information about this to John Biggs because he's an asshole." And they literally said that. And then the next email was that, "Oh, hey, John Biggs, sorry about that last email we sent you. It's calling you an asshole. We didn't mean that. We were really sleepy." And ultimately, the product was really good. It was good enough to talk about. So I forgave them for essentially calling me an asshole in an email. They sent the email after they'd sent me actual information about the thing. But don't do that. Don't call me an asshole. So that's probably one of the best pieces of advice I can offer you guys. And then we have ideas that have promise but are poorly executed. So there were these guys in DC, and they had a product called Night Privy. And Night Privy was supposed to be a way to get auction off bottle service. So if you wanted to buy a bottle of vodka at the bar or club, you could set this thing up and you would auction off the table and you'd auction off the bottle service, and people would pay you $5,000 for a bottle of vodka, which is ridiculous, but that's how that works. But the trick is the website looked like it was made in PHP Nuke from like 1998. If you don't know what that is, that's just a horrible content management system. And it also looked like the name Night Privy suggested a bathroom that you used at night, because a privy is sort of a toilet, and Night Privy was a bathroom for the evening, I suppose. But they didn't really understand that, and I explained it to them. Your website sounds like a bathroom, and they still kept on going. So God bless them. Hopefully they're still alive. This is one of the biggest pain points for you guys. Being a founder, you're running around, you're doing all sorts of things. You go on accelerators, being turned into pink mist, and you're too tired to explain things correctly. So this is the trick. This is how you do it. So step 1 is polish, not Polish. There you go. Polish. Make sure that everything that goes out is read multiple times. Make sure that everything that goes up on the website is understood and read multiple times. Make sure that even your mass emails that you send out at 4 in the morning, don't send any emails out at 4 in the morning, but even those mass emails that you send out at 4 in the morning are read by native English speakers, are read by your founders, by your board. Make sure that everything goes through a number of pairs of eyes so you know that you're sending out good stuff. Don't be off the cuff in many cases. Then, once you're ready, once everything's completely polished, you're going to write your story. So your story is something that's human, something that's important to you, and it's something that's important to the reader of this story. What you want to do is you want to share human fables, I guess you could say, about your story. Hey, we are two dudes from Montenegro. We found a problem in this, and this AWS sharing service, and we solved it by doing this. Now we are selling an enterprise product that solves that problem, and it's called whatever. Explain that. We're living here. It's it's a fairly small country. We're trying to get the word out. Can you help us out? That's a human story. That's a human plea. It's not a press release. It's not a 200-word thing that explains exactly why you're the best thing in the entire known universe. What it is, it tells someone like me, like anyone else in the world, that, hey, we've solved a problem. This is why this problem exists. And this is who we are. We are two humans who are pulling this stuff off. Now you have to figure out who to tell it to. So once you have a polished product and a story to tell, you have to figure out who to tell it to. Don't tell it to these guys. These guys don't care. So this guy really doesn't care. Michael Arrington, he hates you. Bono, he can't help you. The Dalai Lama, he's not gonna, I don't think he checks email. Pete Cashmore, he's not even human. Actually, if you lifted up this face, he's actually a robot under there. It's actually really interesting. He doesn't actually produce waste. It just all goes back inside. It's like a reactor. And this is the Polish president. He has nothing to do with anything. He's just up there because he has a really nice mustache. Don't tell these guys. You tell guys, you could feasibly tell me, but I'd probably ignore it. You tell the small guys on the site. You go to Mashable, you look for an associate editor over there. You look for somebody lower on the totem pole who writes specifically about your thing. You say, hey, Joe, I noticed that you really enjoy Amazon Web Services. Here, take a look at this thing that we just did. And they're going to go for it. They're really excited about it. I write about 3D printing a lot, so all the 3D printing guys should come to me specifically. All the hardware guys should come to us specifically because we write about a lot of hardware startups. Figure things out for yourself. Look around, what is the map of this website, or what is the map of this magazine, or what is the map of this basically accelerator or VC organization? Who focuses on what? If you send a mass email, it's not going to work. Figure it out and go human to human as opposed to human to garbage dump. Here's step 4. This is your bonus step. So this is only going to be $5 to hear the bonus step. You find the next story to tell. And the next story to tell is another human story. It's not a feature update unless it's an amazing feature update. Oh, my partner and I decided that we were going to add this feature because it helped save kittens in East Africa. So we added this very, very important feature. Otherwise, nobody cares about your feature update. The next story to tell is a funding round. Hey, we're great. We're getting bigger and bigger, and we're being successful. That's a great story to tell. The next story to tell is, hey, we're doing a dot release, a brand new version of this that looks completely different because my mom said it should look like this as opposed to that. That's an important story to tell. We just hired some dude from Apple. That's important as well. But always make them in terms of a story. Don't make them in terms of a press release. Don't make some sort of bland, vanilla press release that says, today in Montenegro, blah, blah, Incorporated just added one small feature to their very, very small app, and I think you should write about it and rerun this press release itself. So you find the next story to tell. Now, this is also another thing that a lot of people have asked me in terms of when I've traveled specifically. How do you escape this place and end up in the valley? And there is no one way to do it. I can give you recommendations, but these are some of the things that I've learned. One thing you have to incorporate in the US. You have to find some sort of local partner. Maybe it can be your cousin, I don't know, it doesn't really matter. But you have to incorporate in the US. It can be a Delaware corporation, it's got to be LLC. Set your papers up and you're good to go. You can kickstart something or do something on Indiegogo. That's sort of an international sort of crowdfunding system. And that's mostly for the hardware guys, but software guys can pull it off too. But the important thing there is that once you kickstart it, you can get that cash sent to you and you can build it here and then you can ship it back out to the rest of the world. Kickstarter and Indiegogo are fairly amazing engines for innovation right now. And all the stuff that you couldn't get built, you can build now using these products. And you also have sort of a pre-order system, and you also have market validation that come out of these things. You can also hire a local partner to partner with you in the Valley or in New York or whatever, and they can sell your product alongside their product. That's usually in the consulting sphere. So you hire some dude in New York who's going to sell his product alongside yours. He's going to offer his services to implement yours, that sort of thing. You can also just go and live there. I don't know what the visa situation would be on that. You're not going to be able to pull off a lot of work, but you can go there and stay. I've met lots of people who just go there for 3 months and just hang out and bother a lot of people and then come back and understand that A, the valley is not that amazing. It's kind of horrible. And B, it's not that hard to get in touch with people if you know who to talk to. Then you can just network. You go into these things. Don't waste too much time at these things and don't get too drunk. But you come and network and you talk to people who have come here from far, far away to hang out, specifically hang out with you guys, myself included. So this is, I'm a big fan of Star Wars, so I'm just going to add some of these sort of like these Yoda-like maxims to the...
This is Star Trek, man.
What is this? What is that?
Somebody's been messing with your slides.
No, that's Star Wars. It's like the Millennium Falcon.
Looks just like Yoda, you know?
No, look, up here, this is where R2-D2 sits. Can you see that? Up on top there.
Yeah, and there's a C-3PO.
Whatever. This is, you guys don't know anything about this. So as Yoda says in Into Darkness, success is a journey, not a destination. And I know that sounds like hippy-dippy bullshit, but it's actually not. Success is a journey, not a destination, means that the best companies are always innovating. The best companies are always iterating. They're always improving. Apple didn't just stop at the iPhone. Well, actually, they kind of did, but Apple didn't just stop at the iPhone. They constantly make stuff. Samsung, they're like a shark. If they stop making phones, they're going to die. That's really literally what happens over there. That's all they do. They just keep doing the things over and over and over again. If you become passive as an entrepreneur, you're essentially going to sink to the bottom. Merely existing is a triumph. That you're able to pull this off, that you're able to build something cool, is important in itself. And that's a human story. That's an important story that you can tell. Hey, we pulled this off. We're sitting in our room, we're sitting in our attic, and we figured things out, and we built something cool. That's very, very important. That's something that you can share with the world. And people actually care about that story because they want the underdog to win. You can get out of the black hole. It is possible. There are ways to escape a sense of creeping dread that you've chosen the wrong profession. There are ways to escape the sense that nobody cares. There are ways to escape the sense that nobody wants to fund you, that nobody wants to pay attention. And those are all detailed up in the presentation. And what I said is basically you have to find the story to tell. If you don't have that story, you're not able to convince other people that they need to help pull you out of this black hole. Here are some other tips that I think are very Star Wars oriented. You have to fire all your engines. So if you're stuck somewhere, and I've seen this happen again and again and again, if you're stuck somewhere and you're frustrated, you basically do everything you can. You hire a marketing team, you hire a translation team, you hire a new designer, you figure things out. You spend all your money until your family dies. That's the only way to do it in many cases. And if your family dies, you can just start a new one. It's really the only thing I can offer. You can also get a new engineering crew. This means you have to fire all the dudes that you started with, which is kind of mean. But just like in Star Wars when they killed, who's the black guy, the big tall guy?
Muhammad Ali.
Muhammad Ali. Yeah, the spins like a butterfly. No, the Spock. Just like they killed Spock. You find a new engineering team. You replace everybody, every single person, and figure it out. Maybe you need fresh eyes, or you bring somebody new on. Then you get into a new ship. Maybe the entrepreneurship isn't for you. Maybe you hop in and go work for telecom for a little while and come back and build it out. That's always possible. I got this email couple months ago, this dude I met I think it was on this tour or somewhere else, and he basically complained that we didn't give him enough attention, that we didn't pay enough attention to him, and that he's suffering and he's in pain and it's anguish. This email that he was in horrible pain. And a couple weeks ago, he got the okay. He's going to be in this Techcrunch Disrupt in Berlin, and he's going to be on stage presenting his idea. And I didn't know that he was going to win because I have some control over it, but I don't have that much control. But for him to whine to me first that his whole life is ending, and then for him to win this thing and to be on stage and then to ask me how he can pull it off, because after all this whining, doesn't make me very excited for his prospects as an entrepreneur. The entrepreneurship is difficult, it's painful, you lose all your money, you eventually die. It was probably like 30,000 in unpaid credit card stuff because of Techcrunch. I mean, we were technically a startup for a number of years before Mike sold out and bought a boat. So I have about 30,000 in unpaid credit card debt because we didn't have any sort of expense system, and we also didn't have insurance. So I was running around going crazy, trying to travel and try to cover stuff, while Mike was planning to buy a boat, and that's how it ended. And now I'm basically now we're on the other side of that. We pulled out, and now we ended up in AOL's warm bosom. I usually delete all my email, so try Twitter. All right, perfect. Thanks a lot, guys.
Okay, so at the beginning I said, while you were out, I said that you're passionate about science fiction and about hardware. And then you ruin the laptop, and then you insult enterprise by calling it the Millennium Falcon. Are you that passionate about startups also?
Yeah, that's exactly how I treat startups too.
Okay, so you're the one slaughtering them and turning them into pink paste?
I'm not. I don't slaughter anybody. Well, I do, but I don't do it actively, or I don't want to. I mean, one of the things, as I said before, we try to afflict the comfortable, comfort the afflicted. And my goal in terms of talking about startups is to find the guys who aren't getting a lot of attention. Because those are the guys who need the most help, and those are the guys who have the most promise. We don't need another Facebook story on Techcrunch. If I see another one, I would rather delete it than write it. But that's what everybody else in Techcrunch wants to put up there.
Can you give me a real-life example, a story about a company or a startup which you wrote about and nobody else wrote about, and then it made a success story?
I mean, something like the Pebble Watch. I think we wrote about the Pebble Watch. People got excited about it. And then they hit 10 million. Recently, something that I wrote about was something called Red Pitaya, and that was out of Slovenia, I believe. Slovenia?
Slovakia, it's close, yeah.
Where's Ljubljana? Slovenia. See? Look, I learned my lesson down there. I can't mess these things up, or you guys will beat me up. So Ljubljana, these guys in Ljubljana, they came in and they showed me this goofy looking thing. It was like a box with a bunch of things sticking off of it. And I'm like, all right, what is this thing? So they told me it was something to measure electricity with. I'm like, all right, great, let's write about it. So I wrote about it, and they surpassed their funding goal by 10%, I think. Or no, wait, not even 10%. I think it was probably like 50 to 100. So they went crazy, and they really took off. And it was primarily, I was the only guy who wrote about them. A couple other smaller places wrote about it, like scientific journals and stuff. But as soon as they launched, I wrote about them because I actually care about cool people making cool hardware. So I wrote it, and they're happy, I suppose.
I just hope you didn't write about color.
I didn't. I think we did a flyer die about color, and I told the Win guy that it was horrible as well. All those apps are just terrible. So I told all those guys.
How is it possible for a completely ridiculous app to raise $40 million and then get offered $200 million by Google, and the guys rejected it, and then in a year and a half they're dead?
My assumption is that God hates us all. That that this is a hell that we're living on, and everything is unfair. That's what I think. What I know is that those dudes basically just run around the valley, and they have a lot of friends, and they have a lot of people that they know, And God bless them. That's what they like to do, and that's what they're going to do. I mean, you guys could pull it off too. You just have to go there, get your H-1B, land, and just be weird and obnoxious all the time in San Francisco, and I think you could pull it off too.
Or you can always surf in San Diego.
You could. That's San Diego. That's you want to stay down. You have to stay in the valley. You have to be right there. Those guys are a bunch of. It's very incestuous.
You're a member of the jury panel of the startup competition. So in the afternoon. So what traps should our startups avoid when pitching to you and the other guys?
I mean, it has to be a human interaction, and this is something I repeat this over and over again, and it seems like it's BS, but it's not. You have to think about it in terms of a conversation with someone, that you're conversing with the audience. Some of the things that we like to tell the folks for pitching for Disrupt is your slide deck shouldn't be what you're looking at. Your slide deck is ancillary at best to the actual presentation. You want to be up there, you want to be actually telling your story. Hey, my friends and I did this. We discovered that we couldn't put underpants on goats, and we needed some sort of goat underpants solution. My mom sewed us 15 pairs of underpants for these goats. We placed them on the goats. They didn't enjoy it until we finally found the one model of underpants that fits on the goat. That's the best story in the world. Whereas if you sat there, if you'll notice up here on here, we have 4 model underpants for goats, and this next slide will show you how many underpants we've tried and what the goats' reactions were using a galvanometer. And that's horrible. That's horrible stuff. And that's literally what a lot of the pitches that I see are like the second one as opposed to the first underpants one.
You mentioned some distractions for entrepreneurs, for startups, during your presentation. So what would you say are the top 3 distractions for a founder?
I mean, some of the distractions are sort of this theater of entrepreneurship. So you have a lot of places in the world that have lots and lots of crazy startup events that everybody goes to and everybody runs to. I'm not saying go to those, but some startups make those their life mission to go to every single one possible. And they're not working on their startup. They're basically just flogging an idea. You can go to these things when you're ready to rock and roll, when your idea is already in fruition, when you can say, go to this website and sign up and do beta, or go to this website and actually try it out. That's when these things become valuable. When you have this sort of, again, theater of entrepreneurship where folks come to network, folks come just to get attention, folks come just to get free cheese, then you have a problem. And there are a lot of these things, a lot of these startup events, and I love every single one of them, but a lot of them become sort of an excuse as opposed to a goal.
Thanks. The audience has been tweeting heavily, so it's your time to ask questions now. Just raise your hand and some of us will give you the mic. Just don't make it a Star Wars question, please.
I mean, we can talk about Star Wars. I really like the last Star Wars.
Don't, please.
You can ask me questions. I'm just right here. No questions?
Before someone raises his hand, can you tell me your top tips for networking effectively?
Well, obviously you're going to want to 3D print your head and pass that out as your business card. That's your first thing. So everybody has to 3D print their heads. Don't make networking your primary goal. You can meet people and you can at these events, but you also have to have something to offer. Again, that's why I kind of give out the head. That's sort of a little gift that I can give other people. So if you can offer a beta, if you can offer a demo, that sort of thing, those are very, very valuable. That's more valuable than a business card. That's one of the tips that I would network specifically for entrepreneurs. Also, just don't flit around parties and network with everybody. Try to be selective and try to figure things out. Try to figure out the lay of the land before you start.
Okay, guys, now. Okay, we have one hand in the first row.
I'm from Salt Lake City, Utah, but in the Bay Area quite a bit. I think the audience might find it interesting in terms of the incubator. You know, Drew Houston, and then Heroku was actually started, or at least did go through a Y Combinator, I believe. But you mentioned you're not real positive about Techcrunch, or I mean Techstar and groups like that.
I'm not negative per se. I'm not saying that you don't do it. I'm saying that a lot of people use those tools. And what he actually asked was why I was so, I guess, down on accelerators and startup sort of whatever incubators and things. Some of my favorite things are when a corporation actually does sort of the incubating and sort of builds their own. I called it a cauldron, where they keep these guys in. They give them all the resources that the corporation has, including putting them in front of the big guys at the corporation, and they can either buy those guys out, or they can spin them off, or they can do an acquire sort of situation. And those are some of the most interesting things, simply because they give the startup a lot more context. And I see a lot of those Y Combinator things not having a lot of context in the real world. And we cover a lot of the Y Combinator stuff and a lot of the stuff that comes out of there. But in many cases, if you have a good idea, it's a distraction.
We have another question here.
Actually, I have can you hear me? Okay. A question about Techcrunch. So I noticed that you guys are organizing events in Beijing, in India as well. So have you seen anything interesting coming up from this part of the world? And what about this strategy to go and like try to attract entrepreneurs from the East?
Have we seen anything coming out of Asia? I think so. I mean, when we did Beijing Disrupt, that was great. We had a lot of great startups. I think what Asia is doing right now is they're moving out of manufacturing and into services. I haven't been able to pin down anything really exciting, but the trick with Asia is that you go there and you immediately have a market of X billion people, which is insane. And in Taiwan, I met one founder who did a sticker, sort of like a photo sharing app. It was the goofiest app in the world, and it's for kids essentially. But she has millions and millions of users, and she's really, really successful, simply because she launched over there as opposed to over here. The trick with that is that you have to have a local partner on the ground, and you also have to worry a little bit about the business climate over there. And obviously it's not as bad as a lot of people say, but it still can be pretty bad. You can have competitors stealing your IP, you can have issues, especially in manufacturing, where they manufacture stuff after hours. And that climate for a non-Chinese citizen or a non-Taiwanese citizen could be detrimental. I'm not sure. That's one of the major pitfalls that I've heard people talk about. Otherwise, then it's a wide open market, and it's actually a great market, and I think it's a fascinating place to be. I think we're going back there. We're having a Shanghai thing pretty soon, and I'll report back, I guess.
More questions for the Techcrunch guy?
Yeah, hi. You talked a lot about the differences between, let's say, approaches from Mike Carrington and yourself and some of the other guys. So I guess my question would be, if you are a startup, when's a good time to sell, or maybe even to put it, when's a good time to sell out?
Well, I mean, don't think about it as selling out. I mean, unless your ultimate goal is to sit there and work on the same startup until you die, then you're eventually going to need to do something with that startup. And if you can sell, I think you're actually valuable. What was the value in our specific case when we sold? The value is that we got the resources of a large corporation behind us, whereas before it was just a bunch of dudes in Mike's house. So going from a bunch of dudes in Mike's house to having a headquarters is a pretty good deal. And that was valuable for us. And it's actually built the brand a lot. And it makes us look like we're sellouts, but we're not a band. It's not like we're Nirvana. So we're allowed to sell out. I mean, this is a business, I suppose. When is the right time? I wouldn't say it's the first time somebody offers you money, but in many cases that is probably the right time, because then you sort of get an influx of cash. Like MakerBot just sold to Stratasys, but they were remaining completely independent. And I talk to Bree all the time, Bree Pettis, the founder, and he basically tells me there's really no change except they do get those resources, except they do have the expertise of Stratasys behind them to back them. Before they were just a bunch of dudes in a garage somewhere building 3D printers. Now they have a full factory in Brooklyn, which is amazing. And you can really jump to the next level by selling yourself.
Okay, before the next question, I would just like to ask you, how do you feel about Kevin Rose selling out to Google?
Just, God bless him. He needs to be. Dig was a good idea, and then all the other good stuff. There are lots of acquisitions that I've watched that are kind of ridiculous, especially some of the Yahoo stuff that's happened. Yeah, I'll tell you a story about that later.
You can go on now.
You wanted me to go now?
Yeah, it's not like anyone's tweeting.
Yeah, nobody's
Marissa's
listening.
not reading, so don't
Yeah,
worry.
she doesn't read any of this stuff. Well, I mean, one of the things was there was one very prominent acquisition of a company run by like a 12-year-old. And that kid bothered everybody for like a full year to get attention for his product, which wasn't a really good product in the first place. And then when they got bought by Yahoo for like X million, it was amazing to us because we were just, I mean, I have a 7-year-old, so maybe he can start something and maybe he can get bought out too. So that's a great idea.
So the lesson is bother everyone, especially Marissa.
Bother everyone, send as many emails as possible, get on Skype and bother me at like 4 in the morning. Pretend that you have a bigger team. That's one of the tricks. Pretend that your boss is going to fire you if you don't get a Techcrunch mention. But then when you do get a Techcrunch mention, follow up constantly and incessantly with email after email after email, and then Skype some more, and then try tweeting as well. So the more you really attack me with all the media, the better I feel. It's one of my favorite things to do.
So you really love your fans, huh?
I really love the fans.
Okay,
It's like,
one last question.
Hey, John. Sorry. I had a question about, does TechCrunch cover non-English localized websites? Because, like, you know, translating an entire website and making it localized for English is kind of a big ordeal and a big effort sometimes. And I was wondering, is that effort worth it just to get covered, or do you guys cover non?
Well, I mean, that's one of the tricks. Like I wrote about mBank, and it's in Poland, and it was probably one of the coolest banking websites I've ever seen, which is sort of an oxymoron, but it's actually true. It was really well done, and it wasn't in English, but I wrote about it anyway. I speak Polish, and I could actually understand what was going on, and I explained it as best I could. But it's very, very difficult to do that because unless one of those members of the staff speaks your language, then there's really no way that they can confirm that what you're saying is true. I mean, they can look at the website and say, oh, yeah, it's really pretty, but they don't really understand what's going on unless they actually speak it or know it local. Unless it's something amazing. And in many cases, if it's something amazing, you probably just don't want one language. You probably just don't want it localized in that case.
Okay, thank you guys. Thank you, John. And as Yoda likes to say, live long and prosper.
Live long and prosper, my friend. All right, thanks a lot, guys.